Hi, folks. Welcome to my humble homestead in the forest. And today I have a little story for you before I tell you why I'm standing here in front of my car. About 27 years ago or so, we bought a Hyundai Elantra station wagon. And they weren't as big as they are today, and Hyundai, the name wasn't as big as it is today. And almost to date, 27 years ago to date, and that's why I'm taping this video today, is that, well, we've had a bit of snow and it's mid-November. It's getting cold. And I remember one day, on a day like today, I turned on the fan, the heater, and out came from the center vent, the console, almost like eye level, not eye level, but directly in between the seats, in the front, just under your dashboard, came to me a bunch of bits and pieces of foam, debris, leaves, paper, whatever. And I panicked. I go, what the hell is going on? I took it to the dealership, and they said, they, a few of the service technicians or whatever, they were working on it, trying to figure out what this is. They hadn't seen anything like this before, and finally they said there was an obstruction in the vent, like a heat pipe or heat. I guess whatever that the heat and the cool is responsible for bringing the heat and the cool to the cabin. So I'll call it a hose, call it a pipe. I don't know the exact terminology. And so, okay, I guess they got rid of it, and that was that. Now fast forward, that was 27 years ago or so. Fast forward to when we were actually living here. It's just about 5 years ago, again, this time of year. And for whatever reason, I opened the hood. Why did I open the hood? I can't remember. I opened the hood and I saw something strange, something unusual. A sort of a handful of I don't even know what to call it. I mean, I do know now what to call it, but I didn't know. I didn't know at the time. Exactly like what those guys had found, the mechanics had found 27 years ago in that old Hyundai. Debris about half the, about the size of a snowball. Let's call it a snowball, since we have snow now. And in it, there was little bits and pieces of gravel, tiny bits and pieces of gravel, little flakes of leaves, debris, paper, whatever. And I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell am I looking at? How did they get in through the grill to the front of the car? And how is it not everywhere? Like how at this time of year, or just before this time of year, when the leaves are down, when you drive down a street that has lots of leaves, you might get some leaves get pulled into the car from under the car or whatever. But it wasn't everywhere, just like a little ball. Well, now I know that was a mouse nest. And so this is why I'm coming to this time of year. At this time of year, they are looking to make their nests. And mice, I don't know about rats. We don't have any rats here. I hope we never do, but I mean, with the climate changing, we might. We also don't have any ticks. That might also change with the climate change. But I know that mice have a few litters a year, and each litter has a few pups. So at this time of year, when the rest of the year they're out and about, and folks, don't think that, oh my God, where does he live? This isn't having to do with where you live. There are more mice and critters and everything where you can't see them underground. And in particular, when I say you don't see them, they're nocturnal. They're not even going to be around. They can't really see. In fact, they're more, if you want to call them that, blind than bats. They really can't see in the morning, in daylight. So I guess they've developed that so that they don't the predators don't get them. But then owls, it's always a thing with nature. But the point is that you don't see them. Just because you don't see them doesn't mean that they're not here. In fact, if you remember, obviously you don't remember, if you've read at school that the asteroid that hit the Earth, the Yucatan Peninsula, however millions of years ago, and killed, not necessarily directly, wiped out, let's say, the dinosaurs. The only beings that survived were anything that was already used to or was inclined to live in underground. So they would burrow their way underground. They were already there. They already had everything they needed. They had their food there. They didn't need the sunlight necessarily. And it was warm. Underground is always a constant 17-degree temperature, so you didn't care about any ice age or Pleistocene age, whatever, any of that. So they have been around a lot longer than we have, and they're a lot more resilient. And probably we don't give them enough credit. So at this time of year, they're trying to find a place that is safe and that is warm. And where is that? That could be in your garage. It could be in your barn if you live out in the country. It could be, if you don't have any of that stuff, it could be in your car. Now, if you live in the city, some busier cities, there might even be rats doing this now. I remember one year in our old car, I noticed that there was a groundhog that went under the car. I remember hearing a cat got under. The older your car gets, basically what I'm trying to say, the bigger openings and crevices and areas there are for bigger animals to get into. And so now that mice also know this, so they already naturally like to go in really tight spots. They wouldn't mind even collapsing their bodies to get into this tightest hole so that they can be safe from any other animal that also has the same idea of getting into your car, in your engine cabin. So where the best place for these things to be, they found over the years, is that pipe or hose for your heating and cooling duct. So you might be thinking, well, that's just annoying, and how rude that they come and do this to my property. And the thing is that we own the forest, or we have a deed to our little parcel of backyard or whatever, or front lawn or our garage or house. Nature doesn't care about that. In fact, some human beings don't. What do you think some of the wars are about? They don't care about you having a deed to your parcel of land or your plot of land or your house in the city that you put a fence around it. They come and get it, and they come and move into it. And so mice are doing this, and coming into your car, coming to your garage maybe even. And it's annoying that they're if they can get into your heat and cooling method. Yes, it is. But at this time of year, this is what I'm trying to say to you, get in and try to look for those nests, and you'll see something unusual. You say, if you're standing there scratching your head thinking, what is that? Then remember me on my video and say, yes, I remember this guy telling me about it. That's what this is. So it is annoying, but you might say, well, it's not life-threatening. It is annoying when I turn my heat on. Some of that debris is going to come in, and I may not get full heat or full cooling in the summer, and it is annoying, but I don't have the time to get into it. And maybe if I go to my dealership and I ask them, even though here they charge $130 an hour to do anything at any dealership, but whatever. But the thing is that it can be life-threatening, and I would say that it is life-threatening, and this is why. Mice, in particular, I don't know what rats look like. I've never seen a rat in real life and what their poop looks like, but I do know, I have seen mice, and I know what their poop looks like. They look like little cumin seeds, or what's that thing that they put in bread? It's like from anise seeds or something like that. And so they are rude enough, I might say, or at least they're helpful enough, that they poop as they go, and they can leave a trail of poop, and you can always backtrack to see where they're coming from. In fact, it's a good time for you to go in your house and find out, block any holes that you have. It's probably too late right now to do that. Now they're already in. in your house or in the basement or garage or whatever. But maybe a month earlier, this would have been more helpful. But because they are tiny, because they can collapse their bodies, they can get through. They can get through a hole the size of a dime. For those of you who don't know what a dime is or don't live somewhere where dime is like a 10-cent coin, is about this big. They can get it through a hole this size. My starting to study this size, I'm saying they can collapse their bodies to get through a hole this size. But anyway, so what happens when you turn your heat on, especially if you're moving, if you're in the highway and you're cold, or if you're in is a particularly cold day? It's not a particularly cold day right now, and I'll take the camera and I'll show you a little scope around. You can see there's about 7-8 inches of snow, but it's not cold, as you can see. I don't have my glasses, my gloves, or something warm on. Just one layer, and that's it. But when you put your heat on, your fan on, maybe even not necessarily even on full highest hot, number 10 or whatever the number is, on the full speed, and the heat, the car sometimes uses not necessarily elements, but the heat of your engine, to use that to kind of bring it, not your exhaust, but the heat, your engine heats up to, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of degrees, uses that to bring that heat in and give it to you wherever you want it. Your feet, your higher up, mix of both, or your defog, whatever. But that heat also doesn't just come out through, it has to go past that pile of poop, and it heats that, and it comes out, and you're breathing it. Now, this has happened to me in our old car. I was coughing a lot for no reason, and only in the car. And then that cough became like almost like a chronic thing. It was like all the time. I noticed I was doing that, never linking the two together. So because we only drive once a week to town, we don't drive in the car. So when I would come back from our trip to town, a day or two later, I would more or less, coughing would subside or go down or even stop. And then again, a week later, when we're in the car going, by the time you get to town and come back, that's an hour and a half round trip, and it would start again. Until a day like today, when I opened the thing, I noticed that there's a nest and connected the two of them finally. And so it can be life-threatening. You don't know. The poop, mice poop, even if you're in the summertime, forget about the winter. If you're in the summertime, you're sweeping your shed or your garage or whatever it is, it's probably a good idea to put a mask on. And that's just in the summertime. So I'm just going to stop the camera now, change the angle or the position, so I can just show you the hood. I mean, under the hood. You know what under the hood looks like. And when I was opening it, I kind of had a quick look. I didn't see anything. But I just want to show you, for those of you who don't know what under your hood looks like, but just to give you a couple of quick ideas of where to look for. But I'm not going to know all the nooks and crannies that they can get into, especially if they're coming from under. I really won't know. But it might be helpful to you. So let's see. So folks, here we are. This is what under your hood looks like. And this is, as you can see, there are many, many, many places that critters can make a nest. But this is not a new car. And but it's not an old car like our old car that we had. And so as new as this isn't, and it's neither old or new, you can see many places that a ball size bunch of leaves and things could gather. And I can see this is all normal and like what the factory intended. There's nothing, what I mean, there's nothing out of place. I see some dead bees and bumblebees and maybe a honeybee or two on this sort of a cooling radiator. But other than that, I see no sign of, I've already gone and looked, I see no sign of any sort of a natural material like gravel or loose leaves or anything that would be bunched up together. I mean, there's a single leaf here. And this is not what a nest looks like. Imagine like a pile of this and that kind of thing. And that's what it would look like. And it would probably be closer to that side, closer to the cabin. And this is right here. I don't know if you can see my hand is. No, you can't. Right, just under. Well, this is where you have different air filters or different places. In our old car, this was it where the air filter was. That's where I found a ball of leaves or whatever it was there. And right now I don't see anything, and I don't want to get too excited because it doesn't. Just because I'm not seeing it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist somewhere hidden pile. And I suppose it could catch on fire too because it gets pretty hot over here. So it's a good practice, is what I mean. It's a good practice for you to do this at this time of year, and just once a year. And for your car is an investment. You can't necessarily stop them from getting into your house, and they're not really getting into your car. But maybe you can, since you're breathing, it's a good idea to make sure that you're breathing that air. Even if you don't have the fan on, you're still getting some fresh air. If you have it on the fresh air or unless you have it on the recirculate, then you're getting some of this air coming in, getting pushed in to your cabin where you're sitting from outside. Anyway, I hope this was helpful to you. Oh, I said I would show you a little walk around of what the snow looks like for those of you who don't have snow. There you go. Now you can kind of see while I close the hood. Quiet, isn't it? Not the same as the city where we were just at yesterday. Incidentally, at this time of year, I have put my wipers up all the time, at any time of year, but now with the snow, and you might get freezing rain or something, whatever comes down, and it doesn't stick to your windshield. When you go to peel it off, you don't rip your the rubber, the squeegee or whatever you call it, on your windshield wiper, and then you'll be stranded if you ever need to wipe your windows without it. So open your wipers up, so that doesn't happen. Bye for now.